have you ever wondered how the most successful CEOs seem to be playing chess while everyone else is, well, playing checkers? Today, we're going to crack up in their playbook and show you exactly how they build a game plan for success.
You know, this ancient wisdom, it's really the core of all modern strategy. See, the best competition isn't about outworking everyone during the game, it's about outthinking them before it even starts. It all comes down to having a better plan. All right, let's get into it.
And let's be real, business is a high-stakes game. Just like in sports or military campaigns. Just working hard, that's the bare minimum. It doesn't guarantee a win, not by a long shot. Especially when the rules, the tech, the competition, it's all changing constantly. It just proves that real success is never, ever an accident.
I mean, look at legendary leaders like the Green Bay Packers coach Vince Lombardi. He's a perfect example that winning isn't left to chance. He took a losing team and turned them into absolute champions, not by just hoping for the best, but by building a clear, repeatable game plan.
So the big question is, how do you do that? How do you move from just working hard to actually working smart? How do you build that playbook for success, whether you're running a whole company or, just your own career?
Well, the answer is something called strategic management. And yeah, I know that sounds like a super dry textbook term, right? But just think of it as the secret playbook. It's the art and science of getting your marketing, your finance, your operations, literally every single part of your organization working together, singing from the same hymn sheet, all to achieve one clear goal.
But here's the thing, you don't need a fancy business degree to master it. The whole process, it just boils down to answering 3 simple but incredibly powerful questions. And these are questions every great leader, from a top CEO to a football coach, has to face.
Okay, first up, you gotta know where you stand right now. What's the current state of play? This is the audit phase. Think of it like scouting your own team and your opponent before the big game. You need a totally honest, data-driven look at the whole landscape.
And what's so cool about this is how simple the audit can be. You basically look in 2 places. First, inside your own walls. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Then you look outside your walls at the opportunities and threats out there in the world. You know, things like new markets, new tech, or what your competitors are up to. This right here is the classic SWOT analysis.
All right, so once you know the landscape, you can tackle question number 2. This is all about strategy formulation. It's where you decide on your single, overarching play to win the game. Because look, you can't be everything to everyone, so you've got to make a choice. And one of the most famous models for this comes from Michael Porter. He basically boils this choice down to 2 fundamental paths. You can either compete on price, that's a cost leadership strategy, being the most efficient, no-frills option, or you can compete on being special. That's a differentiation strategy, creating something so unique that certain customers will happily pay more for it. And that brings us to the third and honestly the most critical question. A brilliant plan on a whiteboard, it's completely useless if you don't act on it. This is all about implementation, actually running the plays, and then, as we'll see, checking the scoreboard to see if they're actually working. So how do you actually execute? Well, it's kind of like a chain reaction. It all starts with your people, getting them motivated and totally on board with the plan. That alignment then makes it clear how you allocate your resources, where you put your money and effort. Once your resources are in place, you can set clear, measurable objectives. And finally, you have to keep score. You've got to measure performance against those objectives to know if you're winning or if it's time to adjust the plan. And that step, allocating resources, that's where a strategy stops being an idea and becomes real. For example, when Ford decided their future was in trucks and SUVs, they didn't just talk about it. No way. They put their money where their mouth was, shifting a massive $7 billion in investment away from sedans. That's not just a line on a budget, folks. That is strategy in action. Okay, but this whole framework, it's not just for giant corporations like Ford. Let's take this playbook out of the C-suite and see how you can apply it to something a lot closer to home. I'm talking about your own career.
So what does this all mean for you? How can you use this very same CEO-level playbook to your own advantage? Because here's the secret. Thinking like a strategist is one of the most valuable skills you could ever develop. The very same tools used by the world's biggest brands can be applied directly to your own professional growth. And that's what turns you from just a passive employee into the CEO of your own career. A great way to start is by running your own personal SWOT analysis. Seriously, you just identify your internal strengths and weaknesses, and then map those against the external opportunities and threats out there in your industry. And this is where the magic really happens.
For instance, you could combine a strength with an opportunity, say using your coding skills to get a job in the booming AI sector, or maybe you use a strength to fight off a threat, like using your awesome network to stand out against a more experienced candidate.
And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. Strategic planning isn't about gazing into some crystal ball and trying to predict the future. No, it's about creating it. It's a proactive, powerful tool for shaping your own outcomes and building the exact future you want, whether that's for a company or just for yourself.
So I'll leave you with this. What's your game plan? It's probably the single most important question you can ask.